Welcome in, everybody. So today we are talking about my March TBR, my reading plans, my hopefuls for March. Now, I'm gonna be so honest with you. I was terrible at sticking to my February TBR, so take this with a grain of salt. I am definitely out of that reading slump that I've been dealing with for the past, I don't even know how many months, but I have just been kind of like picking up books on a whim whenever I feel like it. Like I see a book that's come in at the library and I'm like, yeah, that looks good. Why not? Now I did try and lean into some subgenres that I've really been loving, some post-apocalyptic, some sci-fi. I have a few contemporaries. I'm going to do a few rereads because I like to do rereads for my birthday. And I just realized that I didn't explain that my birthday's in March. Yes, you could have figured that out from context clues. But yeah, I have a couple of rereads that I like to do. It's like my little gift to myself. And normally I have like a set few that I reread on my birthday because they're like top tier. I have a lot of like memories with them, a lot of nostalgia associated with them. I think I'm gonna mix it up this year. I know, she's getting freaky. What's she gonna do next? But again, we'll see if I get to any of this. Before we jump into the books, I do just want to note, I know a lot of you won't care, and I love you all for that, but for those that it's gonna bother, the lighting's gonna go in and out on this video. It was cloudy all day. It was like the perfect lighting in my living room, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna sit down to film, and I swear it was like the second I had that thought, Mother Nature was like, partly cloudy, and now the sun is going in and out behind clouds, and I can't continuously adjust my camera settings to keep up with whatever the hell is going on. So like right now it's super bright, which is why my background looks really dark and my face looks hella sweaty. Oh, and also, what is this? There's also like a mark that's picking up on my shirt that doesn't exist in real life. That's so weird. What is happening today? Anyway, okay, let's just jump into the books. So first one up is one that is newer. It caught my eye immediately because I was like, ooh, this meets so many of my goals. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's Aurora Terminus, and it's by S.E. Fanetti. So this one is post-apocalyptic, more of a survival type romance. So the official blurb is extremely vague. It doesn't tell you like any details. I ended up scrolling down to a Goodreads review that provided a few more details, so I'm gonna give that to you now. But essentially, we have Diana. She is living in the city. Actually, I think our hero is too, and I believe it's New York City, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, the world falls and she's like, this seems kind of like the place I don't want to be. Kind of seems like a bad time here. I'm gonna get out. So she ends up escaping to a place that her parents have in the mountains. She makes a life for herself. She's surviving, but she's extremely lonely because there's no one else around her. Our hero, Gus, kind of takes a similar approach but with a different spin. So he gets out of the city. He's like, this is also a no for me. But he ends up with a more nomadic lifestyle, and he sees a lot of the worst in humanity, kind of meeting up with different groups when it suits him, but he's definitely in survival mode. And eventually, I guess these two must meet up at some point and get their freak on. I wanted to read this one because I saw Annika from Annika Reads Books. She's over on Instagram. She was posting about this, and her and I tend to have a pretty high overlap in the types of books that we like, especially with darker stuff. So I immediately was like, all right, you have my attention, because she was posting before she was done. She was like, this is obviously a new favorite. This is a 5-star. And then I found out that the genre was post-apocalyptic romance, has survival at the forefront, catnip for me, nom nom nom, eat that up. So I was really excited about that. And then it also just kind of meets a ton of goals that I have for the year. One of them was that I wanted to read books from like 2018, 2019, like something further back, pre-2020, pre-tropification. I want to find gems that have kind of been left by the wayside. I also wanted to try and find books that have less polished covers, books that maybe I'm not immediately excited to read based on the cover art, because I feel like usually those are coming from older books, smaller indie authors. There's more of a chance of finding that unique gem that not a ton of people have talked about yet, although this one I did find from Annika, so is it really meeting my goals? Maybe not. And I just realized you can see the camera shadow on my boobs. Well, that's great. Anyway, that's why I want to read that one. If it doesn't work out, I will just default to reading Claire Kent again because, you know, I do want to read a post-apocalyptic because I deserve it. Okay, next up I have The Hollowed, and this is by Amilea Perez. This is a dystopian, oh my god, that word was so hard to get out, zombie apocalypse. So in this one, our heroine is Dr. Castillo, and her lab is like the last line of defense against this illness that has gotten out and it's wiping out humanity. It kind of sounds like it's making them into zombies. I'm assuming that's what The Hollowed is referring to. She has been working on a vaccine and she finds out that it works. So she is then thrust out into the world of the flesh-eating monsters, which is how she ends up meeting Alejandro Ramirez, who is a soldier. He is going to accompany her to bring her cure to the facility that is going to mass produce the vaccine and make sure she is protected as she goes there. But there is danger around every corner, and trust isn't a given in this world. Those who she least expects end up having the capacity to betray her, even when they claim they're for the greater good. So this one, I think, was another one that I found through Instagram. Was it Shelby? I think Shelby from Spicy Book Nook, I think, may have alerted me to this one and had posted about it coming out. And immediately I was like, yes, 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 yes. Because it reminded me of like 28 Days Later meets I Am Legend a little bit. But I feel like it's just a little bit something different than what I usually read with dystopians and kind of like post-apocalyptic. It's got that zombie element. I don't typically go after that. Well, I guess Land of the Beautiful Dead kind of technically had like a zombie-like aspect, but it's not usually a subgenre that I typically go after under dystopian and post-apocalyptic, but I do love a zombie movie, so I figured I'd give it a go. I also really love this idea of like survival isn't just about brawn, but also intellect, so I really like that aspect too. Plus, who doesn't love a good conspiracy theory? Definitely want to get to that one. In fact, I already have it downloaded on my Kindle. So next up is the second book in the Lesser Wolves duet that KV Rose is putting out called Fewer Saints. This one releases on March 13th, I believe. I don't know if the relationship in here is menage, if it's love triangle, if it's something else. I have no idea, but there is an organized crime aspect. There are multiple heroines going on in this book. This will be the second book in the duet, as I mentioned. This is also a duet that's technically interconnected with Did They Break You? The hero and heroine from this book are best friends with the hero and heroine from Did They Break You? So that's kind of the tie-in there. Why am I doing that? Ew. But these have wildly different feels. I don't want to spoil anything about Fewer Saints, so I'll tell you about the first book. Essentially, we have Storm, who is our hero. He is a low-level drug dealer, but also the heir to a criminal empire of sorts, although he really does try and keep his distance, keep his head down, just do his own thing, and live his simple life. But with his job, he knows he just doesn't really have a future. It's very much in the moment. When he ends up getting tangled up with Sloane, you know, their best friends are both spending so much time together, they inevitably are running into each other. Sloane is his polar opposite, but kind of makes him want something more because she's very like sunshiny and sweet, but she's got a little bit of trauma going on, a little bit something darker to her, but she has very clear plans for her future, one of which is she wants to move out of the country. So it doesn't really make for a great relationship trajectory. And Storm knows that he really doesn't have anything to offer her. He can do nothing but drag her down, but their chemistry, that is undeniable. There is a wrench in this plan, however, of getting a little freaky at least before they go their separate ways, because there is a gal named Lydia. This is our other heroine. She is also part of this criminal underworld society, from a rival family to Storm's. And when Lydia's brother ends up overdosing, she blames Storm, and she's determined to take out her revenge on him, including going after everyone he cares about. I'm really excited to see where this story goes. I feel like the first book was such a good, solid setup. I have a good sense of the characters. There's so many moving pieces that started to kind of slap together, but I don't feel like I have like the full vision of it yet. I'm also really curious where things go with Lydia and Sloane, because right now I'm like hardcore Storm Sloane versus like Storm Lydia. So where does that go? Do they all get together? Is there only one heroine at the end of this? I don't know. Plus, I know that there's some plot and there's some scheming, there's conspiracy going on, and I want to see what happens with that. So very excited to get to that one. I have so many questions that I need answered. So next up I have Deuce by wait, hold on. You know what? I didn't write down the author's full name. Hold please. Full name, Kimberly Brown. The audacity to call her Kim. I don't know her like that. Back on track. So this is a contemporary romance. It's got forced proximity. I think there might be a crime element, kind of question marks around that. The blurb kind of alludes to that, but we'll see. We have our heroine Salima, and she has a lot bigger dreams than where she's at now. She's really trying to achieve them, but she also needs to be able to support herself and her mother. It says her mother is recovering. I'm assuming there was some sort of like accident and medical bills, or maybe she isn't able to work for some reason, but she has to support both her and her mother. So she ends up taking a job at Aurora, which is an upscale club. I'm assuming this is how she ends up meeting Deuce. He is the heir to a powerful family empire, and they end up crossing paths a few times, and he is like, mine, 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 mine. I like what I see, I want it. But she's pretty resistant because he has a very domineering personality. This is someone who is used to having things his way and wants it to remain that way. But apparently she gets on board at some point because the blurb later on says that she has to learn to navigate his world, which involves luxury, family loyalty, but also danger. That's why I was kind of like, maybe some crime elements? There's scheming afoot at the very least. So this one has popped up as a recommendation for a couple different Jahquel J books that I have read recently. So immediately I was obviously intrigued. Also, it didn't capture my attention because this has nothing to do with the book. Deuce is my husband's nickname for me. So, or at least one of them anyway. But more importantly, this is kind of scratching an itch that I've had, that I've been reading several books around, where it's like girl that's in a tough spot, trying hard to be really strong, but she's tired. A guy sweeps in that's got more money than God and helps lighten her load and wants the best for her. That's what I'm really hoping I'm getting out of this. But we'll see with that domineering personality. I'm also really hoping that I like this author's writing too, because she's got another book. I think it's called like Rhythms Blues or Rhythm and Blues or something like that. The cover on that is stunning. The way the light is reflecting off the cover model's cheekbones feels otherworldly. It's so stunning. So next up is not so much a specific book, but a series I want to continue on in the Firebird Chronicles series. This one starts with Rules of Redemption. This is a proper series. This goes fully in order. Like the books read like they are a singular book. This is a space opera that's got a whisper of romance that builds throughout the series. I don't know specifically what book I'll be on at this point because I'm just kind of continuously checking out the next book and the next book and the next book in the series. So I'm assuming I'll be on book 5 or 6, but I'll tell you a little bit about Rules of Redemption, the first book in the series, so that I don't spoil it. And also I fully just don't know what book I'll be on at that point anyway. So we have our heroine, Kira, and she is a decorated war hero, but she has left this all behind for a much simpler, solitary life where she works as a salvager. She is basically going to alien ship wrecks and trying to bring back important pieces of the ship so that humans can analyze them and have more information about their enemy and how their ships work and their strategies and that sort of a thing. So the latest salvaging trip that she went on went a little bit haywire. She found a really cool piece of the alien ship that's been really hard to get their hands on, so she's really excited, very determined, but it does lead to her ship getting damaged because she takes a few risks that she probably shouldn't have. Where they're at in space, it means that she is going to be forced to go to a space station that she'd really rather avoid because it has a lot of ties to her past. So she's trying to get in, lay low, get out quickly, but it doesn't work because she ends up seeing some kids in danger and she knows that the security team is not going to arrive fast enough to save these kids. So she's like, damn it, woman's got to do it herself, which ends up drawing the attention of a contingent from the Tuon race. They're an alien race that is often called wizards by humans because they seem to have a magic-like capability and they are incredibly advanced compared to humans, but are generally distrusting. The treaty between these two species has been very tentative at best, which means humans will do anything to preserve this alliance, and when they decide that they want Kira to come with them back to their home planet, well, girlfriend's just gonna have to go now, isn't she? So she's now having to go along to get along, but also constantly planning her escape. So I have been loving this series because it's like put Kate Daniels in space and it's this series. It's so action-packed. There's so much political maneuvering and trying to understand and navigate these different cultures. It's been so fun too because the heroine is incredibly capable, incredibly confident. She will be so sassy, but she has the know-how to back it up. But she's also very aware of her faults. She knows she's very stubborn. She knows she's pretty fiery, but she is just so endlessly capable of pulling off the impossible, even if it means hurting herself in the process. She's gonna do it, especially if it's the right thing. And then you add in like that whisper of romance that builds and builds and builds through the series. It's so good. I have been absolutely addicted to the series. I have pretty much been reading a book from the series since I read the first book. Like I'm just not putting it down. I'll read other things at the same time, but I'm pretty much always reading from this series. It's just so addicting. So next up is my priority read for the month, and that is going to be Capone by Jahquel J. I have been on a tear with this author's books, and they are just so bingeable. So this is I think this leans into dark romance. It's contemporary, more urban fiction, but the synopsis on this kind of says like a lot of words without actually saying anything. So the gist of it seems to be that Capone is our hero. He is drawn to our heroine, Erin, despite the fact that he should not be. She's his brother-in-law's first love. So when I first read that, I was like, I don't know how this makes her forbidden. I don't know if it's bro code. I don't know if it's something with the families. Who knows? But anyways, he shouldn't want her, but he does. I've been on a bit of a tear with Jahquel J. Her books are so addicting. She just delivers on emotions, on character arcs, on just like straight up entertainment, but she can also do something darker, something fast-paced. So I just know that this is going to hold my attention. We'll see how many books from this series I end up reading. If it's anything like the series To All the Thugs that I love that didn't love me back, I hope I got that whole thing right. It's a very long title. Yeah, it's gonna be a binge type of situation. So next up are my vlog books, maybe? It's definitely my rereads. We'll get to the vlog concept in a second. But like I said in the intro, I like to do rereads for my birthday. It's a little gift to myself. And also I've just been wanting to do more rereading in general this year, hence me rereading Pride and Prejudice like right after I finished it. Wait, have I told you guys that I've done that yet? No, actually. Yeah, I read Pride and Prejudice twice in February because why not? But anyways, I usually read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata and The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea by Elizabeth O'Rourke. But I think I'm gonna switch up the books this year a little bit. I'm thinking these might be my vlog books, but I was also thinking about doing a vlog where I'm just mood reading. I don't know. Let me know what would be more interesting to y'all. Would you all rather just have me mood read for a week, or would you rather me do some rereads of my faves? Let me know. I'll tell you what books I'm planning to reread, and then maybe that'll sway your opinion. But let's get into the Mariana Zapata book that I want to read. So normally, like I said, I reread All Roads Lead Here. That is by far my favorite Mariana Zapata book. It's my favorite cover, not the weird cartoon cover, but the original indie. I think I'm gonna switch it out this year for Kulti, which is a coach athlete. They're both kind of soccer players. So the premise for this is that Saul grows up being a huge fan of Kulti, who is a professional soccer player. She has posters of him in her bedroom, very much inspired her own soccer career. Now, she's long since gone over this crush. She's an adult now, but she is nonetheless very excited when she learns that he's going to become part of the coaching staff for her soccer team. But when he arrives, she does not recognize this shell of a man that is in front of her. This once very passionate, very explosive soccer player is quiet and reclusive, and she kind of wants to figure out why. So I was kind of wanting to reread this one because I just read Love on the Line by C.W. Farnsworth, which is kind of a similar concept, mostly just in the setup. It's like two professional soccer players. So kind of a similar premise, not totally. There's a lot of differences, and the characters are way different. So not exactly like a comp title, but it did have me wondering if I would like this book more now, because when I read it, I was reading a bunch of Mariana's back to back. I rated it 5 stars still, but I was like, it's kind of a low 5 stars. I'm curious if that will change upon my reread. And plus, I've just been really craving athlete for athlete type romances. I like when they're both kind of like of the same world and have the same like passion for the same sport. It reminds me so much of my rugby days back in college. There's a lot of parallels between like soccer teams and rugby teams and rugby practice, and also just reading from The Gulf of Love recently, and just like how lovely I found that experience. I'm just starting to gab and go on and on for no reason. Anyways, I wanted to read Kulti. That's the long and short of it. One of the other ones that I wanted to reread is The Summer We Fell by Another one that I wanted to reread is The Summer We Fell by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is a contemporary boyfriend's best friend romance. So the heroine has a really rough home life, and she ends up moving in with her high school boyfriend like during high school. But his family is super religious, and it kind of leads to an unfortunate situation for the heroine. She feels like she's this burden to the family that she has to earn her keep, and so she has to do everything she can to keep this roof over her head. So she's running herself ragged, cooking, cleaning, taking the woman's place in the home. The hero is not her high school boyfriend. No. The hero is the friend he comes home from college with for the summer. Unlike the boyfriend, who seems oblivious to how rough the heroine has it, the hero here sees what's going on. And he ends up pushing her to stand up for herself and standing up for herself when she's not able to. Now that's the past timeline. In the present timeline, boyfriend's not around. She's now a famous singer. He's gone on to become a professional surfer. And now they're both back in town to help this high school boyfriend's mom with a project for homeless youth. So I am both excited and nervous to reread this one. I've been wanting to reread it for like over a year now, but I've been a little bit nervous too because it gutted me so much the first time around that I read it. And it's like, it's crazy because it's so short and yet it just packs a punch with the emotion. It's so slow burn and the heroine is just going through it. And I just love when a hero just sees through everything, sees through the facade up. I love that. There's also like an element of suspense, but I'm kind of curious if that feels different reading it back this time. And then just dealing with religion and how two-faced some certain people can be in a congregation. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited to give this one a reread. And then finally is one that I just decided to add. This is another one that I've wanted to reread for a couple years now. It's The Frat Boy by Nikki, Sloane. So this involves SW, enemies to lovers. It's new adult. The premise for this one is that Colin and Madison are part of Greek life on their college campus, and they're participating in Greek week activities. Now things are escalating. Tensions are rising between the houses because they both really want the prize money. Now this ends up in an epic fight during a relay race, which gets both of them kicked out of their houses. Getting kicked out of their sorority fraternity not only cuts them off socially, but it also means that they don't have a place to live right now. Both in desperate need of housing, they end up turning to the same ad that is offering room and board in exchange for working at a spicy content house. They don't realize, however, when they apply that the first scene that they're gonna have to do to audition is with each other. So this book is so hot, so full of tension, and yet has such great relationship development. It uses the spice to develop the relationship and keeps the tension still between these two, and then them having to pretend, and then the pretending isn't pretending anymore. And I love it. I love it. I love it. Like I said, I've been wanting to reread this forever, so I'm finally gonna do that now. So, like I said, let me know vlog-wise if you guys just want one of me mood reading whatever, whether it's these books or something else, or if you'd like to see me do a reread of those books in particular. Let me know your thoughts. I'm open to either. But with all that, those are all the books that I have for you. Thank you for sitting through all of that. I was a little bit all over the place today, so I really appreciate your patience. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if you liked them, if you had different opinions about them. Let me know what you're planning to read in March, what kind of mood you're in, what subgenres you're going after. I'd love to hear all of that and more. And with all that, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like this video if you did in fact like it at any point. And don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to have you back for more videos. And I really, really do hope that I see you on my next video. Bye-bye.